What's going on, everyone? My name is Under the Radar, and welcome back to the Draft League Viabilities. I feel like I do have some explaining to do as to why this series hasn't been on the channel for the past couple weeks. At the time I'm recording this, it's been 2 weeks. It's a potential that you might not see this, that you might not have seen the series for 3 weeks. So first off, this series does take a lot of editing, and if you didn't watch my update video, you won't know that editing for me right now is kind of sort of tight, especially on a series that takes a lot of editing like this series. So because of that, I did kind of have to make a choice as to whether I want to either stop this series, move it to 1 episode a week, or if I wanted to just figure out how to make stuff happen and not upload anything else to my channel. And after some really long thinking, I think I'm just going to cut it down to 1 episode a week, because I know you guys do love this series. While it's not my favorite series in the entire world, I do enjoy recording this series for you guys. So what I'm going to do from now on is I'm going to upload 1 episode of this a week, and I'm going to make it on one mon that I really want to talk about. I found that sometimes whenever I was discussing cores, it was very hard for me to talk about something like a lower tier mon like Sock, because you normally don't have that in a core. You just pick that up because it meshes well with what you have on your team. So because of that, I did take a little bit of an executive decision, and I'm going to be moving this to 1 episode a week. It's going to be on Wednesdays. It's going to be on Wednesdays, and I'm hoping to be able to bulk record them a little bit easier, edit them more in the advance, and then I'll be able to put them out for you guys. But now that I have that little bit of housekeeping out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the mon that I wanted to talk about for this week. And that mon is going to be Mega Diancie. Now, Mega Diancie is actually a very, very, very unique Pokemon. Before it Mega Evolves, it's pretty fat with its base 150 defenses, I believe. However, post Mega Evolving, it does lose a little bit of bulk, and those defenses drop down to 110. Now, the crazy thing about Diancie is that those bulk stats are not bad at all, but whenever you pair it with its base 50 HP, it becomes a very, very frail mon that with its 4 times steel weakness, water weakness, grass weakness, earthquake weakness, and then being neutral to a bunch of other typings that have pretty strong base power, it becomes a very frail mon. So its pre-evolution and its mega evolution have very, very different roles in the Draft League format. And that alone is why I think Mega Diancie is actually a very unique Pokemon. The fact that it can come in, take a hit very, very easily, be super slow at base 50 speed before Mega Evolving, and then Mega Evolving having base 110 speed and being able to outspeed something, and with its monstrous special attacks, that being able to nuke something with the combination of Moonblast or Diamond Storm. And one of my favorite things about Diancie is that in this generation, it actually got a buff because of the speed increase. Normally, in past generations, whenever you would have to Mega Evolve, you would get the speed the next turn. So if you clicked Mega Evolve, you would still have base 50 speed on your Mega Diancie, forcing it to pretty much run Protect every single time. It was the exact same thing that Beedrill had to run Protect, and Mega Lopunny always had to run Fake Out. But because of the speed buff, it can now outspeed so much in the game, and because it does have a really, really high special attack stat, it's able to nuke them. On top of its special attack stat being through the roof, its physical attack stat is as well at base 160, meaning that Diamond Storm coming off of the Mega Diancie is not weak. However, if you're facing a team that a special rock type move does better against, Mega Diancie got buffed even more this generation because it now has a special offensive rock type move that is very, very strong. If you do not know what move that is, Power Gem got boosted this generation. It got boosted from, I believe, 50 base power to 80 base power. That is a big jump for a move. This gives a whole new opening to a bunch of other sets that Mega Diancie can run, from Rock Polish with a timid nature or a modest nature and being able to lower your physical attack, being able to Calm Mind and being able to set up like that. It just makes it so much better. The biggest problem with Mega Diancie is that it does not have the best coverage in the world. It is limited to Moonblast, Power Gem or Diamond Storm, and Earth Power and Hidden Powers for that. For the majority of its move coverage. And believe it or not, while Earth Power is a pretty powerful move, a lot of Steel types in the game now are able to deal with it. If you look at some of the best Steel types that are in the Draft League format right now, you have the likes of Skarmory, you have the likes of Celesteela, you have Registeel, you have Scizor, you even have Steelix to an extent. Steelix is a pretty good Steel type on most teams. You even have things like Empoleon and Ferrothorn, which can almost always tank an Earth Power from a Mega Diancie and just nuke it back. Because of its 4x steel weakness, it's very, very easy to OHKO it. Along with its base 50 HP and its base 110 SPDEF, yep, 110 in SPDEF, it's very easy to just pack Hidden Power Steel on something and nuke it. Things like Weavile are big threats for teams, and if you think, well, I have a Mega Diancie that can just click Moonblast against it, simple coverage like Metal Claw is all you need to be able to nuke a Mega Diancie. So because of that, it's very easy to pressure it, along with having steel priority moves and Bullet Punch that more mons got this generation. Some very easy candidates being Scizor, Mega Scizor, Pangoro, the Hitmons, things like that. It's very easy to pressure this thing to where it cannot sweep your team, but it is very powerful against you if you don't have a reliable steel type, and your steel type are the likes of Heatran. Another somewhat of a problem that Mega Diancie has is that its speed tier is very good. However, it's just good enough to where you can hardly never run Modest. And a Modest Mega Diancie can hit so unbelievably hard that even those steel types I mentioned, they won't want to switch in very easily to a Hidden Power or an Earth Power if they are grounded. So its speed tier, while it's really good at outspeeding things, if you want it to be a wall breaker, is going to struggle. Because if you run like a SPDEF bulky water type like Milotic, like as I said before, Empoleon, anything like that, you can pretty easily switch in on this thing. Even something as simple as a Seismitoad, and you can pressure it. And the fact that its ability, in my opinion, is somewhat useless, it makes it so that Mega Diancie is kind of sort of at a hindrance as compared to other typings. If you don't know why I say that its ability is kind of useless, its ability is Magic Bounce, and with it being really frail with the HP stat that it has, it's very easy for you to switch in, try to Magic Bounce hazards, but a lot of Stealth Rockers also can carry things like Earthquake, Iron Tail, Iron Head, things like that, and it's very hard to switch in knowing for a fact that your opponent is going to go for a move unless you use this thing as your Mega Evolution first turn and click Protect to prevent you from dying to be able to deal with something that way. So because of that, Diancie does have a lot of really good rolls, but it also lacks a lot of really good rolls. Another really big one is that a lot of people now in 7th gen, they like their fairy type to be bulky. A lot of times that's a main part of somebody's wall core. For example, you have things like Mega Gardevoir, which is really fat on the SPDEF side with a decent HP stat. You have things like Clefable, Tapu Fini, Tapu Bulu to an extent is actually a really good FizzDef wall. I've used it before. You have things like Sylveon, you have Comfey in lower tiers, you have Aromatisse. Like, there's a lot of fairies that people are going to use as a bulkier option that whenever you instantly take your fairy type away, you're a lot weaker to things like Dragon Dancing Mons because your fairy type can now not live a hit, and your fairy type is also very weak to common coverage like Earthquake, like Iron Tail, like things like that. So it's very hard for your wall core to support a Mega Diancie well, unless you use Mega Diancie as like a really good revenge killer, and then you have another bulky fairy with it, but then you're opening yourself up to more steel types being able to pressure you, so you have to cover that very well. While Mega Diancie does have a hard time with some things, I will say I love Mega Diancie. It is my personal favorite Mega of Gen 7. It is my personal favorite Mega because I don't mind not running Modest. I don't mind drafting 2 fairy types, one being fat, one being really offensive. I don't mind drafting something that's really weak to Earthquake because normally I can patch that up and I'm fine with running a ton of berries outside of Mega Diancie to attempt to try to patch up that little bit of a weakness that I will probably have. On top of that, I love offensive fairies. If you know anything about me and the way I draft, I love offensive fairies. I love things like Tapu Koko, regular Gardevoir, I love things like offensive Clefable, I love Spec Sylveon, things like that. I love those as mods. I even really like Mega Altaria right now in the APA, and that's a really good offensive fairy. Granted, it's a bulky setup fairy, but it's still an offensive fairy. I also really like Mega Diancie because it does have a very good support move pool, and it can also stop bulky setup sweepers pretty well. For example, you have things like Calm Mind Manaphy, you have Calm Mind Mons that don't get Psyshock like like Suicune, for example, you can psych up those, you can steal the boosts, you can live a Scald, click Psyshock against it because it does have access to Psyshock and Psychic, and you can nuke them back and prevent you from being swept. It also has a really good move pool for dual screens like Reflect plus Light Screen. The main problem with that is that you can't be Light Clay because you are Mega, but it's still really, really useful, and if you draft around it well and you have some slower mons, this can support those as well with the likes of Trick Room. Not to mention, it can also be a pretty good just cleric in general because it does have access to Heal Bell and it's fast. So if you have a really fat mon that is your win con, I'll use this as an example because I just finished watching this game. In a game to where Jolt was playing Aster J in the GBAD League, if he had had a Mega Diancie and he had a speedy Heal Bell user, or a Heal Bell user at all, he would have been able to get off a status from his fat mon and he would have been able to do better in that game because fast Heal Bell can come in clutch sometimes. And with a Mega Diancie, you don't always need 4 offensive moves. Sometimes all you need is Moonblast, Power Gem, Earth Power, and you're good to go. I know I did touch on this a little bit, but also knowing the fact that there are ways that your Mega Diancie can set up, and Calm Mind and Rock Polish are also really good win cons for a late game aspect if your opponent doesn't have the best steel type as well. So how can you support this mon the best? As I said before, in my personal opinion, I would get a bulky fairy along with it. I would get a very good steel type that can switch into bullet punches, any type of steel move you could ever want. I would also get a really good bulky water, and then I would get Volt Turn around it because Mega Diancie, as I said, it is a very good revenge killer. So if you are able to get some really good slow U-turn and Volt Turn, and you can just drop it in there, you're able to pick off a wall that is not a bulky steel type pretty easily, and you can break through an opponent's team pretty easily if you have some good Volt Turn. I would also suggest that you get some very good wall breakers. Some very good wall breakers that are a little bit slower to mid-fast, such as Nidoking, Pangoro. I'm like stuck on a Mega Gallade fix right now. So I want to say Mega Gallade, but you have a Mega Diancie, so that's just dumb. But you get my point of view. You want some really, really, really good wall breakers with this thing, so this can revenge kill more offensive mons on your opponent's team pretty easily. I would also suggest that you get a very good dragon along with this that can set up stealth rocks, or just multiple stealth rockers in general. In my opinion, Garchomp is one of the best dragons to get with Mega Diancie because you're able to switch in on steel types. You're able to take bullet punches pretty easily because it is relatively fat. You have Rough Skin Rocky Helmet, so it's going to be taking some chip damage. You're able to nuke him with Fire Blast, Earthquake. You're able to get up your own stealth rocks. You're able to do a bunch of different things like that. You're even able to shuffle around mons because it does have access to Dragon Tail. So I think overall Garchomp has a very, very, very good role with Mega Diancie, but that's just my personal opinion. There are some other good dragons that go well with it, such as Dragonite and Salamence, because you know those mons go well with anything right now in Gen 7. One other thing that I would suggest that you get with Mega Diancie is that you get a mon that can always take a hit. That sounds very self-explanatory, however there are some very good mons of those. Milotic is a very good contestant, and Porygon 2 is something that I think goes very well with Mega Diancie because it's something that's fat, can sit there, cannot be setup fodder, and can easily weaken a team on its own for Mega Diancie to come in and just revenge kill in whichever way that it wants. Overall though, if I were to give Mega Diancie a grade, I would give it a very, very, very solid B. I don't think it's an A tier Mega. I think there are some very good A tier Megas right now, Megazard X being one of them. But I do not think that Mega Diancie is the top tier Mega. It's up there, but it's definitely not the best in my opinion. It has very easy ways to check it, and in some games it's just hard walled, and it will have an awful matchup. But guys, there you have it. That is my Draft League viability on Mega Diancie. I hope you all did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like down below for me. Also, leave some comments letting me know what mons you want me to cover in the future. Now that I'm only covering one mon a week, it's very easy for me to just cover as many different mons as I want to, no matter how low tier or high tier they are. But with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Thank you all again so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.